This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante, live during the Yankees series finale against the Seattle Mariners, the first bad Yankees series in a month. On one hand, is it terrible to have one bad series in a month? Worse things have happened to society, but on the other, it's a lot like the Indiana Pacers Boston Celtics series in that, look, you look at the Mariners pitching coming into this series, even though it's a home series, even though the Mariners offense isn't necessarily top notch, you're still saying, I'm happy with a split. 4 games are tough. Look at the pitchers on the board. It's a big challenge. You split this series, you're like, all right, this just has the potential to be a fun series. After the way they lost game 1, in order to split the series, you have to win 3 out of 4. Because the first game was 1. 2 outs away from victory, but not even in a consequential way where you're worried about it. Like 4-1, nobody on base, 1 out in the 9th inning, closer with a 0 ERA. There are games that are hanging in the balance, and then there's that one. That was finished. So once you lose that game, once it gets tied up and you don't even get the chance to go to extras because it gets untied before you can even process the fact that it's tied, it's real tough to get up off the mat. The Yankees showed that they couldn't in the second game and did a good job of surviving and thriving occasionally in the third one. Either way, you're going to have series like this. There are reasons why it should frustrate you, but there's no reason to write off the team just yet. Now, every time we say that, they end up losing a couple more games, and people are like, it's such a 162-game season of all roller coasters. People show up in your mentions when they lose another game to say, I thought you told us not to worry about it. And then they win a game and they shut up for a week. Here's the thing. You're going to have series that look like this. It would be better if they didn't start the way this one did. And it would be better because you're going to have hostile series on the road, like where you're just not going to win those series or you might get swept in those series. You don't want one of those trouble spot series to be at home against a team that entered this set known for not hitting and then dinked and dunked Clay Holmes to death for his first bad outing of the year in the opener. So there'll be plenty of anger in this one. Anger at the bullpen blowing up for the first time in a long time. Anger at Aaron Boone's bullpen management specifically, I think. Anger at the offense, which had myriad chances to break through and put the first game out of reach, couldn't do it, even though 4-1 was kind of out of reach anyway. Had the same opportunities in the fourth game today, which is unfolding. We don't want to talk about it too much, considering the overall stamp of this series is disappointment regardless. But Thomas Carinante, welcome on into the show. We're going to recap what we got so far and mostly talk about some questionable moments in the first couple of games of the set. But before all that, you've got an offer for everybody listening and viewing.
Sure do. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for being here. Pretty cool stuff. Want to communicate a big offer to you. DraftKings is here offering a no sweat bet sign-up bonus for new users. New customers who sign up with our code Yanks Go Yard and deposit at least $5 will receive a no sweat bet up to $1,500 bonus on their first wager. That's massive. That means if you place a first bet of $50 and you lose, you will receive a $50 credit in bonus bets straight to your account up to $1,500. You will also receive 1 single game parlay reward every single day. Using our code Yanks Go Yard not only gets you these bonuses, but it supports the Yanks Go Yard podcast, yanksgoyard.com, Adam and Thomas. So if you've been considering signing up for DraftKings, make sure to use the code Yanks Go Yard. Tell your friends, tell your family members who have yet to sign up, and maximize that first bet. It's a lot of money. So you can either ride high with a big bet and win at the beginning and have a good start to your gambling career, or you can get a freebie. So seems like a win either way. This offer is only available to customers who are new customers. I already said that. What am I doing? Who are 21 and older and physically present in legal gambling states.
Customers who are new different than new customers? That's how you said it twice.
New customers who are. So if you're a new customer, but you already have an account, you have to be extra new. So you have to sign up on your wife's email. That's what I meant.
What about nude customers? What do they have to
do? Please remember to always sign up with your clothes off. Gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. Yankees losses, first 2 games of the series. What fucking ever, dude. A lot of frustration here, which I understand. But time to get over ourselves, time to just get right on over yourself. Monday was a heartbreaker. I don't know what you want. That was the definition of a bad luck game. We can dissect it as talking heads with Aaron Boone's bullpen decisions,
Yeah.
with Gleyber Torres's error, with the offense's lack of pulling away at certain times in that game. Same goes for Tuesday night. But Seattle's a good team. You would like to not blow the opener in that fashion, but Clay Holmes was never going to have a 0.00 ERA for the rest of the year. Aaron Boone was not going to keep hitting the right buttons on an extensive basis because he rarely ever does. He's never able to hold up streaks of doing that. So this was bound to happen in my book. It's the nature of the baseball season. I understand if the Yankees came out and Aaron Boone said, well, it's baseball. It's one of those things. And it's like, yes, it is, but also you need to take accountability for questionable decision, which he did the next night, which I was happy about. People make mistakes. The Yankees are not at the fullest of strength that they've hoped to be, especially from a relief corps perspective. So, look, Yankees are still trucking along. They got a good, decent amount of luck this week with the Orioles losing a bunch of games and the Astros losing a bunch of games. So it is what it is. Seattle's a good team. This team is arguably the best pitching staff in the league. I know the stats don't say it, but top to bottom, I wouldn't want to face them in a short playoff series. I don't know about you, but if this happened to the Red Sox against the Red Sox, for example, I'd be a little bit more incensed. This happened to a contender whose success doesn't really affect us, outside of, if we were both vying for the best record in the AL. And everything else kind of bounced the Yankees' way. Like the pitching got the job done for the most part, outside of the bullpen decisions and the few relievers that Aaron Boone decided to go with. The lineup wasn't dead, and they showed signs of life of punching back. I know there was the spells of inability to hit or get traffic on the bases, but again, you're facing a top 3 pitching staff in the league. This is what happens. So if anybody was getting super down on the nice pit, Luis Heel struck out to end the
he did good. Good job by Heel. That's
really fucking great.
6 great innings, as almost always for Luis Heel. And we'll have plenty of praise for him. But again, this game, another one where they're like a sliver. They're like a hair's breadth from going up 3-0 and maybe getting to pull away a little bit. And they don't. And so now we're going to be on bullpen tenterhooks for the next 3 innings because Heel's pitch count is elevated. But shout out to Heel. Either way, right back to it. As you were saying, Seattle, very good team. And ultimately their playoff fate will probably not be decided by this 4-game series in New York. So like you said, the only reason that this would have any lingering impact is if we're, directly responsible for facing them in a short series. But I think they're going to have plenty of opportunities to make that their bed, themselves. You're never going to be able to pin that on a couple of games in the Bronx.
Yeah. No, you're right. And like the biggest part to be mad about here is, the Yankees killed their own momentum with that. I think that's on Aaron Boone in that first game. So let's get into that, because I know that was the biggest issue. This is what got everybody else mad. Which I understand again, but it's not going to be linear. We're not just going to keep winning. We're not going to win fucking 15 games in a row, 20 games in a row with a tough schedule.
But I was plenty mad at the first game too. The title of the podcast, telling people not to overreact, is partially a reminder to myself as well. You can't. That said, I will just pose the counter to the fact that these are just, any loss is like any other loss, and these are meaningless. You're gonna lose games like this in a long season, whether you are a first place team, a last place team. You're gonna have the Chicago White Sox swept the Rays in Chicago. Bad teams pull off greatness, good teams stumble. And the Yankees have 4 more months on the clock to prove whether this was one of those good team stumbles or average team reverting to form a little bit. Either way, we talked a lot in April when the offense was up and down about, hey, they banked these wins, right? You can't get rid of them. You're ahead of the curve. Whether you think this is a 10-2 team or a little bit worse, solid team, you can't take away the fact they got off to a 10-2 start. That's where I'm at with a game where you fully give it away to your opponent, and you're not on the road and you are not in a hostile environment, and you just give it away. Now, the luck is bad. The luck is bad, right? Julio Rodriguez with a little dribbler to the mound, infield single. then a walk. That's not bad luck, though. That's bad performance. So that's the one counter to the oh, it's just luck. I mean, yes, grounder to the left side of the infield, nobody could get their hands on it. Grounder to chopper to Glaber, goes to first, and if it's a good throw, he gets him. If it's a bounce throw, he can't get him, and it turns out Rizzo can't scoop it either. So not only does he not get him, but the run scores. I would like to see a better throw there. That's bad performance, but also well-placed grounder. Mitch Haniger's fly ball to center. I don't know how that wasn't caught. I don't know how Judge didn't get a better jump on that. I don't want Judge diving, but I don't know how Judge didn't get a better jump on that. And then, runners in the corners. Feels like the game is almost sort of kind of tied, but you got ahead of Dylan Moore and you lost him. That's bad pitching too. Yep. Now, Clay Holmes is going to have stinkers. Clay Holmes is going to have unlucky blown saves. The Yankees are going to blow leads. You just hope that those games don't A, come in the tone setter for the series, come in the first game, and B, you're going to have these on the road in hostile environments.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably going to have one of these at Fenway. You're probably going to have one of these in Baltimore. The fact that they've reduced the AL East series by a little bit lowers that probability slightly. But I think you can go into any season assuming that a game like this at the Trop, you're going to have one of these, probably. It's no fun. The best teams in baseball suffer 4 or 5 defeats every year where you look at the scoreboard and you're like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
That's why you don't want one of them to come at home in a game where the narrative was pretty much already decided. And I know some people are going to say it's a better loss because it was luck-based and not skill-based, but I'm sorry, if it's, 4-1, 2 on, 2 out, and Luke Raley hits a big 3-run game-tying home run, he went out and got it. He went out and took it. It's more frustrating to me to see the walks and the dribblers and 1 out, nobody on. And just sort of, okay, like the inning starts and you've got the heart of the order coming up, and that's Julio, and that's Raleigh, and the leadoff hitter is Rojas, I believe. And so you're like, all right, I mean, 4-1, we've already gotten Stroman hyping up the crowd. We already got Luke Weaver coming out in the bottom half of the last inning, top half of the 8th, sitting down the final 2 guys. It kind of felt like when John Birdie added on the insurance run, like, all right, this is going to be, there's a challenge in the 9th. There's some real big hitters coming up, but it's a 3-run game. As long as you get the first guy, you can probably work around this, right? Yeah. And then they get the first guy and you're already writing your post-game story. And so for that to be, you're going to have these bad losses every year. You want to minimize them. But for that to be the first really awful loss, depending on how you feel about the Brewers game or the Guardians one in extra innings of this season, you want the bad losses to look more like Guardians in extra innings on the road, bounced in Gar away, we fumbled it, they stole it from us. Rather than this game was borderline over and probably is over, in my opinion, if Luke Weaver pitches the 9th with a strapped bullpen. I don't know if we agree or differ on that, but to give that one away, it's like you reset the clock. And it's like, I was expecting 4 of these this year. I was not expecting one of them to look like this at all. And now I guess I have to expect 5 or 6, or maybe the Yankees can rebound. Either way, it installs bad vibes in your brain that you don't want. And the New York Yankees since 2021, teams that lead by 3+ in the 9th and have ultimately lost, the Yankees have 5 of those games. The next closest team has 3. It's very rare that a team has 3. 3's a lot. The Yankees have 5.
And there's like 30 total games.
Yeah. So
the Yankees have 25% of them, or the 20% of them.
So if you feel like the Yankees disproportionately lose games like this, you're right. So now the question is it going to be a trend from 2021 to present, or is it going to be a thing where it happened a lot from 2021 to 2023 and once this year, and it still feels, line of demarcation has nothing to do with the other? It's on the Yankees to go figure that out now, because that felt pretty bad and pretty familiar. And as someone who usually expects these things, pretty unexpected for me. With the first out recorded, I didn't see it coming. I let my guard down a little bit.
Yeah. Logan Gilbert started this game. So, like, in my opinion, the offense did enough. 4 runs is enough in this game,
I can't get angry. I mean, in Stanton's double plays, he hit 107-mile-an-hour ground out for a double play. Like, you're mad in the moment, and there's a weird, sketchy Anthony Volpe stolen base overturn in there too.
Yeah,
where you're like, wait a minute, like it didn't look like there's enough. It looked like he could have been safe, could have been out. I don't know how they overturned the call on the field. All these little moments become more impactful, but either way, it should have. Once it was 4-1 in the 9th with 1 out, nobody on, it should just go down as, hey, there's some missed opportunities in there, but 4 runs is 4 runs. Logan Gilbert start, that's not bad. Like, let's work on what we got to work on. But honestly, you can't really expect much better than that. That's probably close to the max amount of runs you can score in that contest without just blowing the doors off. And the game was over, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm not making excuses for the offense. I understand, you left nine players on base. 4 for 12 with runners in scoring position is solid, but Verdugo got 3 of those hits. So everybody else didn't really pull their weight. My biggest thing here was obviously and I'm not glad, but it's a shame this came during Marcus Stroman's best start of the year, but it's good that it happened to him because he's had really good energy both on the mound and when talking to the media, and when handling himself in general, which has been really refreshing. He had nothing but good things to say about Aaron Boone, Clay Holmes, the team after those losses. There was no pitchers coming out and being like, oh, this is bullshit. I just had my best start of the year and my teammates fucked me. So, what am I going to do? I guess I'll wait 4 days to pitch again. No, but he went out of his way to make it clear that, hey, look, this happens. This is part of the game. Clark's going to get him tomorrow. Enjoy. So that was very supportive and vibe shifty for the Yankees, especially with how down the fan base gets after these types of losses, and that permeates into the locker room. But again, we'll go back to the Aaron Boone decision because this is just trying to understand. Just trying to understand. You bring in Luke Weaver, who comes in after Stroman surrenders that when he surrendered that home run and they gave up a single.
Yeah, Canzone got him. Then they brought Weaver in to get the final 2 outs of the inning. He did. At that point, you're thinking that's the roller coaster of the game. You're thinking, all right, 3-1. This game was over. Stroman gave up a homer. He deserves this win. Let's see if we can close it out with a 2-run lead. Then they tack on, and you really let your guard down. And you're like, all right, now it's over. Clay Holmes is going to give up some runs. Might give up some runs today. When he's battling with Julio there, 3-2, you're kind of like, just lay one in there. Like, what's the worst case scenario? He's a solo homer, and then we move on. Like, same with Cal Raleigh. One guy on, one out. Just find the zone. Weaver found the zone. Raleigh hit a 3-run homer yesterday. So to cut it from 5-zip to 5-3. So maybe, my Weaver would have closed this out point is a little more competitive and controversial than I thought at that point in time. Holmes going to give up runs. Holmes going to give up runs, right? You hope he gives up. Let's say he doesn't have his best stuff in that game. Maybe you give up 1, maybe you give up 2, just get out of it. But, of course, he gives up pretty much the maximum number of runs he possibly could have.
No, it's just my whole thing, again, is one of Aaron Boone's favorite things to do is to try and steal outs. I feel like we talk about this once a month. His favorite thing to do is steal outs. So on what planet are you not trying to steal outs when Luke Weaver, who has literally been designed to conduct split inning duty and take these high leverage innings, he throws 6 pitches in the 8th. What are you saving him for? Clay Holmes pitched 2 of the last 3 days. There is no need, in my opinion, to bring in Clay Holmes here. You have the luxury. Luke Weaver has turned into, right before our eyes, the Michael King that the Yankees thought they were getting in Jonathan Loaizaga in their preseason plan. We talked about this ad nauseum on how that was a crazy expectation to have for somebody who has never proven themselves on even I guess 2021 was really good for Jonathan Loaizaga, but outside of that, in terms of consistency, in terms of health, you're putting all your eggs in this guy's basket to turn into the best reliever you've had in the best multi-inning reliever you've had in years. That's crazy. Nonetheless, they strike lightning in a bottle with Luke Weaver. When they made that signing, we were like, okay, cool, 6th starter. This is good depth. We like this. We liked how he performed down the stretch last year. He's turned into a monster out of the bullpen. And he's been able to handle anything, whether it's erasing innings 5 through 7, whether it's coming in the 8th, whether it's coming in extras. He can do it all. And he can do multiple innings, which a lot of Yankees relievers have had trouble with over the last few years, outside of Michael King. Now you have him in this situation. He gets the first 2 outs. He throws 6 pitches, 4 of them are strikes. Why is he not coming in for the 9th? Why is Clay Holmes not getting an extra day of rest? At the very least, Luke Weaver has to start that inning. And if disaster begins to strike, then you have Clay Holmes at your disposal. Now, what are you looking at, though? Luke Weaver throws 6 pitches. You rest him. So don't know what the point of the usage was there, unless he was strictly a 1-inning guy, which he is not. And then you bring in Clay Holmes, who now throws 31 pitches, and now he's in theory off the shelf for 2-3 days, because that's a lot of pitches. And that was a laborious 1 inning, regardless of the number. Even if he threw 25 pitches, I'd say I'm not bringing him in for at least a couple days. That was far too much. So this is where I'm trying to understand it, and then it will leak into discussion from Tuesday's bullpen stuff. But that's what I don't get. It's the perfect opportunity to steal outs and preserve the back end of your bullpen even more, and you don't do it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't understand really, like, it's a two. I didn't understand why we got so much hatred for suggesting that maybe we stick with Luke Weaver here. And I think usually it's such an easy win to stick with Luke Weaver. In my opinion, the answer is almost always right. When you got a slim lead in the 9th, the answer is almost always go to your closer. Like, don't think about it. Don't overthink it. Don't try to steal outs. I know that. And often, and we got on them for not using Holmes for multiple innings in Milwaukee. I just think these scenarios are totally different. And it's almost, it's hypocritical, because you got to look at this in context. There are 2 mistakes made by Boone back-to-back days, by the way.
Correct.
On Sunday, with a 7-2 lead and 2 runners on and 1 out in the 9th against the White Sox, he takes Michael Tonkin out and goes to Holmes. Now, that's what I would do in a video game, or that's what I would do in full panic mode, right? Like, that's a panic move. Bringing Holmes in to close out a 5-run lead against the last place team is what I would do in a, just in a complete vacuum. If you're like, what would you do here? Oh, 5 runs isn't enough. I need my closer. And a real manager would be like, hold your horses. Because Boone probably knows at this point Ian Hamilton's going on the COVID list or whatever, which is a massively important piece of context here. So whatever, uses Holmes for like 7 pitches on Sunday. That shouldn't really take him out of Monday's action. But still, 2 out of the last 3 games you've used him, and you're losing a key back-end reliever. So now you're entering Monday's game with essentially Weaver and Holmes from the circle of trust, because Canley's not up yet. So you're already under the gun, because odds are you're not going to score much. Stroman hasn't been pristine pinpoint this year. So I think you enter that game, your reasonable expectations. And look at us. We said don't overreact to the losses, and now we're on minute 24 of talking about this series. But hey, this is a podcast, and that is what we have to do. Both things can be true. The losses can be really bad and worth dissecting, and also not season-ending. But I think I reasonably expected, hey, 6 innings, 2 or 3 runs from Stroman. Gilbert, 6 innings, 1 run, 7 innings, 2 runs. We're in a 3-2 ball game in the late innings. Then you got to figure out, okay, how do I mix and match Weaver and Holmes or whatnot? You get the pleasant surprise of 3-0, even with all the double plays, and then 3-1, and Weaver gets out of it. Great job. You rarely should stay away from Holmes in this scenario. But no Hamilton just appeared in 2 out of the last 3 games, and you have a red-hot Luke Weaver who could start the inning against, the top of the order fresh on just 6 pitches. The rare opportunity to push Holmes to the next day. I think you have to take that chance. And as soon as 2 runners reach base in a 4-1, when it becomes 3-1 to 4-1, then I'm not even thinking about it. I'm sticking with Weaver. If it gets to 2 on, 1 out, like it did in real life with Clay Holmes on the mound, then I've got Holmes hot, and I think I'm bringing him in. And then I'm annoyed at myself that I have to go to my closer. And then maybe I'm under fire for doing that. But without Hamilton, knowing I've just got these 2 names to work with, and this may be my best chance, because depending on who I use in what's probably going to be a close game, I probably won't have either of those guys for the second game of the series without Hamilton and without Canley being activated yet. And I'm already in Caleb Ferguson, Dennis Santana, Nick Birdie territory for that one, and we all saw how that went. You're sort of saying, I need to secure this win, because like I said, it's tough to win 3 out of 4 in a series, and it's tough to win 3 out of 4 just to get a split. That's a bummer. So when you have the chance to secure the win, I understand the urge to go to the closer, but in my opinion, you already neutered yourself on that option on Sunday with Tonkin on the mound. I think you got to go with Weaver. And I was, at the very least, thought it'd be like a 50-50 split. I tweeted before the inning even started that I would have stuck with Weaver here. Let's see how it goes. And then I had a bunch of people saying, well, in hindsight, duh. And I was like, no, in present tense. Look at the tweet. I stick with, I'm going with Weaver there. I get it. Usually going to Holmes is going to be the right call 9 out of 10 times, 93 out of 100 times. But without Hamilton and the way Weaver looked in the 8th and the insurance run, this is the move for me.
Well, this is what managing a bullpen is. Not every situation is the same. And just because the box score looks like it's, oh, yeah, this is when you bring in your closer, there are other circumstances. And those circumstances oftentimes are ones that talking heads are accused of ignoring. When Boone pops on the Talking Yanks podcast and he's like, well, you guys didn't realize this, this, and this, and, all these other considerations that are going through the coaching staff said that you're not thinking of. Feel like this is a pretty thorough breakdown of why you would make that bullpen decision, and why you live to see another day with Holmes, or at least give him the or at least give yourself a chance to maybe live to see the other day with Holmes. Nonetheless, okay, one mistake from Aaron Boone. It happens. And we don't even have to call it a mistake. We could just call it a slight mismanagement based on the personnel that you have, because you have a lot of non-contributing arms in that bullpen, and you have a lot of guys who really need to get back on track in terms of meeting the back of the baseball cards and getting more strikeouts. But then let's go to Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Yankees look like they're going down with a whimper, right? 4-0. It's like, okay, whatever.
It happens.
This is it. This is classic. This is how you follow up a Monday loss where you had the game won, and now you're completely deflated for the next day. But unexpectedly, Gleyber Torres, look at this, comes in the clutch. Bottom of the seventh.
Bottom of the seventh.
Seventh. Yeah, you were at the game.
I was at the game, having almost no fun.
Tell us.
Bottom of the seventh, you're sitting there. It's a 2-out, 2-strike, 3-run home run. And so you're like, all right. I mean, we've woken up, and it reminded you of the famous John Boyd clip from when they're watching the 2020 playoffs and Mike Ford pinch hits, and they're just like, oh God, what? It's 4-3 game. Look, are you dancing the aisles thinking they're going to come back? No, but they've at least given themselves a chance in a game where they had to get off the mat.
Yeah. And the energy in the stadium.
Energy in the stadium's amazing. Chipping away is tough. So to get 3 in one swing, all you need is 1 to equalize, especially coming back from where they were on Monday night, deflated. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so you only got 2 innings to survive. Dennis Sant, you start thinking the bad things about, like, they brought in Dennis Santana and he was bullshit last inning. Like, if not for that, they'd be up 3-2. But 2 innings, you can stabilize. You don't have any perfect options here. So I will sympathize with Aaron Boone again. The Monday game, I think, I don't think Holmes is a bad choice. I just think Weaver is a better choice. Here, you've got several imperfect options. Unfortunately, every single one of them is better than what Aaron Boone decided to do. And the post-game opinion from Boone, it sounds like a manager who is beginning. You don't want any manager to sound like they're beginning to spiral after 2 consecutive losses, which is very few losses. But it's kind of what Boone sounded like, because they know they're activating. This is just classic. It's just so classic. And I get tired of people saying classic, but this was classic. You got Tommy Kahnle coming on Wednesday. You're going to have to make a roster move. And your options are DFAing Michael Tonkin, who pitches every 6 days and goes 3 innings. And the first 2 innings are okay. And the third one sucks. And at some point, his arm's going to fall off. And he won't be on this team for very much longer. But you get, if you demote him, you DFA him, and they'd rather have a rando out there. And that's fine. And the other option is Clayton Andrews, who was called up when Hamilton hit the COVID IL. So on Monday, this lefty whose numbers from last year were ghastly, and is just sort of he's a small lefty. He's got an intriguing fastball. Maybe the minor league strikeout numbers translate. Maybe they don't, but a nice guy to have on the 40-man, what have you. He had a 27 ERA and 3 1/3 innings last year in the bigs, 11 runs and 10 hits allowed, 3 homers in just 3 1/3 innings. He did have 1 hold, though. Would love to watch footage of that hold. Probably exciting. He's warming up when it's 4-0. Fine. I mean, he should throw the final several innings of the game if it's 4-0. When it becomes 4-3, I don't want more Santana. I guess I want Caleb Ferguson by a nose. Nick Birdie's also an option. None of these guys are guys I'm staking my claim on to say they're going to give me a clean inning. This Yankees comeback is going to continue. But Andrews, I know nothing about other than his major league tenure has been abominable at this point. And you've got Ferguson. He's facing Luke Raley, lefty. So I would bring Ferguson in. He was awful at the Trop, but he's been much better lately. He was nailed in the game against the White Sox. All my options are pretty not great, but that's the one that I'm going to go with here. And they go with Andrews, and you're laughing to yourself because you're like, there's a 8% chance this works maximum. And the first pitch he delivers is deposited into the right field.
One of the worst pitches you'll ever see too. And it's just, I'm sorry to even say that, but like, you're coming in for your 2024 debut with this team.
Everyone's trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah. Like, you're trying to steal a strike like that.
We're all listening. We're all watching. You listening to the PA guy go number, 89. Number 344, Clayton Andrews, and you're like, what? And we're all processing it. And before people even get into their seats, it's it's not deep and gone, but it's scalded to the porch.
Yeah.
Very predictable home run. He just jumps on it. You're like, all right, Aaron Boone, you got any more brain busters for me? Because that one, I think we've even been Boone defenders so far this year.
Absolutely.
Acknowledging that he had an imperfect set of data to work with there, and that no matter who he brought in, there was a solid chance they would have imploded. That was probably the worst option by a significant margin.
Yeah, this was anti-analytics. If you're looking at the probability, who is going to fail after us grabbing this momentum back the most, and you pick the guy who was most likely to fail. And look, you could say, oh yeah, of course you think the guy who just got called up is going to fail. A, that's part of the argument. B is
certainly part of it. Yeah.
Not only was he just called up, he also was only called up because the Yankees needed a body. He's not having a good year. 6.60 ERA in the minors. His whip is respectable when you compare it to the ERA at 1.33.
Congrats on the whip. Congrats on the whip, dude.
Congrats on the whip. He's given up 11 earned runs. He's walked 12 batters in 15 innings. That's 7.2 walks per 9. So, just asking. You are trying to now protect a 1-run lead after you think your team has just boosted yourself back into it. You rattled the Seattle bullpen a little bit. Maybe you can steal some nifty plays in the next couple innings, catching them off their toes. Why would you think somebody who puts that much traffic on the base paths in the minor leagues is going to get you through a high leverage inning in the top of the 8th inning against a playoff contender?
Middle of the order?
Again, that's where I get confused. And I watched the post game, and that was the first question Boone was asked, and it was asked very respectfully. It was like, who are you consider using? What were you thinking? And he said, I like the lane for Andrews. And they were like, can you elaborate on that? And he's like, I just like the lane for him. And then he was asked another question about who was available. And he's like, in hindsight, I probably should have gone with Caleb Ferguson, which, look, if Caleb Ferguson gives up the run there, there's nothing we can do. That's just what it is. He's been doing that for a good portion of the year, but he was the better option. There was no need to use Clayton Andrews. He was called up temporarily as we were waiting for somebody to come back.
He got called up at like noon. He got called up at like noon and said he was in Scranton getting lunch, and he doesn't remember driving to New York, and he just showed up in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Like, that is definitely not someone you need to use.
And then he's gone the next day when Tommy Kahnle comes back, something they knew was happening the entire time. And then, just to make it even better, Caleb Ferguson gets used that night for 1 inning when the game's over.
And he was awesome.
The game is 6-3. He throws 1 inning to just get the Yankees to the next day. 9 pitches. So I get it. The wrong bullpen decisions are going to be made, but if you're managing this bullpen for as long as Aaron Boone's been managing this bullpen fairly well with the resources that he's had and the shortcomings and the injuries and everything pretty well. So to think on May 20th, you would have a pretty good gauge on how to handle these situations. This seemed like he completely deviated from everything that made sense in terms of preserving the right arms, putting the guys in the right spots to succeed, playing the right arms in the high leverage situations. So, and this is how bullpen mismanagement snowballs, right? All it takes is one bad decision, and then you're fucking second guessing everything else. So that's why Monday's move was so important, because we've seen this happen before. We've seen one decision then result in, 2 weeks of inconsistent bullpen calls from Aaron Boone. So that was really where the worry came from. And then you see it happen the second night. Were the Yankees guaranteed to win this game? No, absolutely not. But a 1-run game in the 8th and 9th is a lot different than a 2-run game. And then it turned into a 3-run game because of more bullpen mismanagement, using Nick Birdy on split inning duty. Nick Birdy can't do split inning duty. He can't. He has not enough mileage on his arm to do that. He's constantly injured. He comes in to start the inning, and he's either leaving before it's over or he's leaving after it's over. Nick Birdy is not split inning duty. So this is where it's like you look at these box scores and the way the relievers were positioned, and it's like, what is going on? What has happened? What happened after the first 7 weeks of the season? Where are we? That's the complaint there.
Well, that's what makes you mad because, look, they have a very good record, right? There's no one's going to look at the Yankees and be like,
Great team.
The record's just not there. Juan Soto, Ruby single. Good job
Nice.
for Juan Soto. So the Yankees do have a good record. They're at the top of the AL East. The Orioles lost
his bat like a maniac. He flipped his bat like a maniac. Did you see that?
Crazy. He's crazy. And the whole back half of this podcast is gonna be Hal Steinbrenner talk, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, the Yankees have a good record, and they blew one on Monday. But the way the end of the game on Tuesday was treated, it was like, we have a good enough record. Like, it was like a Lay's test kitchen. Like, let's make some garlic non-flavored chips. Why? I don't know. We have a good record. Like, who cares? Like, no, the season's not over in May. And they were sort of kind of acting like, I just like the lane for Andrews. No, you wanted to see what you had out of a guy you were going to demote the next day, and you knew you might need Ferguson the next day. So you're like, well, this guy won't be here tomorrow. Like, we're probably not going to win this game anyway. Like, he can maintain the 1-run deficit. Oh, no, he can't. And now we're definitely not going to win this game. Like when the Rangers knocked in an own goal last night. Were the Rangers going to tie that game? Probably not. But as soon as you do something that dumb, it's like, all right, well, now it's over. And that's what the Andrews home run felt like. And then, I mean, part of the reason you have hope in that game is because the Mariners had to use Munoz in the opener. And you're like, well, they maybe won't use him again. So maybe we claw back from 1 run down. And then he comes in anyway in a 6-3 game. And you're like, well, we're fucked. But hey, not the reason they lost that game, but a little funky and a little foot off the gas pedal. Well, let's go into a Hal Steinbrenner discussion because I feel like the most important moment of the third game this year is by far. It's rare that you get such great narrative consistency here, but you get this. It's not the first time Juan Soto has saved the Yankees. It won't be the last time. It's not like the defining Juan Soto game of the year. But you pair some Hal Steinbrenner comments that most people didn't listen to all the way through. They only
Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't.
Why would they? They never will. They only picked what they wanted to. They decided to, use the most salacious moment from the big stream of accurate quotes to headline their pieces. But that said, Hal Steinbrenner sure did say something dumb. He can't run from it. He gets behind the mic for who is letting him talk at this moment in time about things like this. Dude. Last week, he's like, he did an interview with Jack Curry, and he was like, I want to extend Juan Soto. I want him to be a Yankee forever. Give me Scott Boras' phone number. And you're like, all right, business mode. Like, no, Hal Steinbrenner, big man, like doing the Judge call from Sicily. Like, Arrabbiata. No. I'm on the phone with Aaron Judge. 1 minute. Fresh in the pasta? No. I'm sorry. I have Aaron Judge on the line. Can you just please? I enjoyed the pasta, but please. And you're like, all right, here we go again. And then he gets to the owners meeting this week. Unforced, speaking for the media, like I guess maybe he thought he was in a private room with all the greedy owners, but he in fact was talking to people who can take quotes. And he said, a big bucket of accurate stuff. His favorite line, you don't need a $300 million payroll to win. True. Maybe Brian Cashman does, but most don't. You don't need that. Other true thing, we got a lot of guys coming off the books this year. Our payroll will be lower. No one's asking for your payroll to be higher than 300 whatever million every year. You should be smarter about it. Juan Soto, people forget, is on this payroll making $30 million. So he's going to get a big raise, but it's not like he's going from 0 to 50 million. He's going from 31 to 50 million. And that's accurate. And player development is important. And having, players on cheap contracts in their early years pre-ARB is crucial to building a full roster. All this is true. And then he said this type of payroll is unsustainable financially for us. And no, it's not. It's actually extremely sustainable financially for you if you really wanted to. And there's a distinct advantage for you, the Yankees, because it's sustainable for you and it's not sustainable for a lot of people. So you could be the annoying bully team that everybody already thinks you are if you make it sustainable. If you keep paying crazy money because no one else is willing to or can do that, when you say you can't do that, it's a big old bummer. Of course, everyone's takeaway from that asinine quote was they don't have enough money for Juan Soto. Not true. They definitely do. And everything else he said in the article was about re-signing Juan Soto while lowering the payroll. The problem is, if you bring Juan Soto back, if he takes your money, can you promise him the moon? Can you promise him a roster that he deserves? You can do that without raising the payroll to 320, 330 million. But I still don't want to hear Hal Steinbrenner talking about it.
Yeah.
I want to hear Hal Steinbrenner just keeping mum and saying we're going to have some difficult decisions this offseason. People might walk, but Juan Soto's top priority. Payrolls around the league or a conversation. It's just some word salad. But instead, he gave us legitimately incisive quotes that were annoying. And then what does Juan Soto go out and do in a game that's sort of a people love to say non-mathematical must win? And I love it because for the vibes, they really did have to win last night. Bryce Miller, good pitcher, not great, right? You know, of all he's probably the fifth starter in this extremely good rotation. But you want to get Bryce Miller. You're worried about the Nestor matchup. Maybe you shouldn't be because he was awesome again. But yeah, you need to win yesterday's game. I think you needed to win the first one, and I think you definitely needed to win yesterday. And who steps up but Juan Soto? Not one, but two Oppo home runs. Adulation from the crowd in the seventh inning. He keeps turning around and bowing to the fans in the bleachers and in the right field porch. Juan Soto loves the Yankees. The Yankees love Juan Soto. And he doesn't need to make extension arguments for himself, but he made a powerful one right after Hal Steinbrenner put a powerful foot in his own mouth.
Yeah, I don't know why this is a discussion right now. I don't know why Hal Steinbrenner needs to do 2 interviews in the span of a week.
You know why it's a discussion right now, because it's always people want to get you. People want to get Hal, but I don't know why he needed to talk.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm sorry. Why did that? I meant why he needed to say anything.
Oh, I never understand. Did any other owners talk at the owners meetings yesterday? Did we get any fire quotes from the Orioles guy who says, you know, I love candy or whatever? That guy who can do no wrong.
What's his name from Parks and Rec?
Oh, not Bobby Newport.
Yeah, Bobby Newport.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like universal approval rating, but the Hal Steinbrenner quotes are like, we need to make sure our budget makes fiscal sense. And the Orioles guy is like, I looked into it, and I think beer is too expensive. Beer's now free. Like, it's just, okay. I mean, I'm still waiting for the first, like, whiff of, hey, wait a minute. You know, I don't like that move. But no, that guy's got a perfect approval rating every time Hal Steinbrenner speaks. It's like, fans move around too much. What do you think about seatbelts at the old ballpark?
It's crazy too, because I don't disagree with what Hal Steinbrenner is saying. The payroll situation is getting out of hand.
It's true.
In 2011, you look back, that was 13 years ago. The Yankees had the highest payroll in the league at $211 million. I'm not saying payroll shouldn't increase. I'm just saying these were the numbers 13 years ago. The second highest payroll was the Boston Red Sox at $170 million, tied with the Phillies. The next highest payroll at number 4 was the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, $147 million. Next,
that was probably payroll. Payroll made good use on that Angels payroll.
Yeah. Next after that, the Mets at $142 million. So, I mean, you fast forward to 2024 opening day payrolls. You have the Mets at $308 million. So that is $100 million more than the highest payroll 13 years ago.
And they stink.
You have the Yankees at $306 million, which is, again, about $95 million more, $96 million more than it was 13 years ago. The Astros come in at number 3 at $249 million. So if you look at third place versus third place that time, that's $80 million. That's a lot of money. So, I mean, like, what are we looking at? 500, are we looking at $500 million payrolls in another decade? Like, I get what he means. Like, the numbers are getting crazy. Like Shohei Ohtani's contract, is it deserved? Absolutely. Like, the guy's working. I don't know, the marketing aspect of it, the fame aspect of it. Like, I don't. This is what the market pays for. This is what capitalism is. But also, like, I don't know how many we were talking yesterday. Like, I don't understand how from 2016 to 2019 the Yankees payroll was so big. I don't get it.
Why and if you were managing the business, you'd be annoyed by that too. You'd be like, this team was full of rookie contracts. Yeah. What were we paying for?
It blows your mind sometimes. And then you look at the reality of it. It's a tough conversation to have because where all the money is, like the top 10% of the money is with the handful of best players. And you look at the numbers, it's like, oh, opening day payrolls raised 7% last year. It's been gradually going up. I think the biggest one was 2022 to 2023 recently. It was 11% jump in opening day payrolls. And the average league salary is only up between 1.5 and 3%. So it's the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer from a player standpoint. Like the biggest contracts are getting bigger and the smallest contracts are not really increasing that much.
Bernie Sanders podcast.
We got to get the Vermont offer back from DraftKings. Whatever.
Yeah, welcome to the Yanks Go Bernie Sanders podcast. And once again, another look at the top 1% of all salaries. Way too high. Where's the per start bonus for Louis Hill?
It's true though. Like these.
It's true.
You look at what happened this offseason, right? Why did Blake Snell have to wait that long? Why did Jordan Montgomery have to wait that long? Why did Cody Bellinger have to wait that long? It's because they were not the surefire Corey Seagers, the Juan Sotos, the Aaron Judges. They're not the guys who are going to, in theory, in an owner's eyes, command that money because they don't have maybe the age on their side. They don't have the star recognition on their side. They don't have the consistent, year-to-year production, MVP caliber production on their side. And this is where we get into the problem discussion. I agree with Hal Steinbrenner. It should not take your team a $300 million payroll to win a World Series. Baseball is much more complicated than that, obviously. You could have a $300 million payroll and 4 of your top paid players get injured, and then you're completely fucked. Like, that's just what happens sometimes. You could be the A's trying to play Moneyball forever, and it works out for 5 years, and then it fails for 8. Like, not every solution is perfect. Not every solution is foolproof, but I think we do know at this point you do not need to be spending ferociously every single offseason in order to field the best team. It goes top to bottom with drafting, with scouting internationally, with trades, with maximizing talent using the underlying statistics that the Yankees love to use so much. So it would just be nice if people read the quotes. That said, I don't know why Hal Steinbrenner's talking. I don't.
No.
I don't get it.
No, in conclusion, on top of everything, I have no idea why Hal Steinbrenner's talking. Well, we don't want to dignify him with another podcast segment, so hopefully we won't for a very long time. But if he speaks, we'll speak on it. Before we sign off, just want to highlight moments we might have missed in this series and things that probably would have gone unnoticed. We're doing a service. We're celebrating the uncelebrated. My moment is just I want to focus on Anthony Volpe, who has extended his hitting streak to 16 games now. Is 1656? No. Is it record setting? Absolutely not. It's a 16-game hitting streak and a current 20-game on-base streak, still notable from somebody who started so high, got moved in the leadoff spot, and then went so low again over the next 2.5 weeks. Is it important? Yeah. The fact that he continues to extend his hitting streak against elite Mariners pitching is noteworthy to me. It's not like Anthony Volpe is a secret at this point, but credit where credit's due. This is as tough a matchup in a 4-game series as you're going to get unless you swap in George Kirby for Miller. It could have gotten one notch better. But the Mariners they're overflowing with pitching. Luis Castillo, the guy everybody got so mad at the Yankees for not acquiring a couple years ago, is disgusting. He also might be their 3rd most talented starter. Miller is probably a really good 3 on a lot of teams. He's the Mariners' 5. Brian Wu coming back from injury looked the best of anybody in his appearance. Logan Gilbert in the opener, it's an all-star level starter. I mean, these are all-stars. And so what does Volpe do? He does not swing for the fences. He knows he knows he's not the kind of power hitter who's going to be stepping to the plate against Logan Gilbert to lead off a game going, I got a Ricky Henderson this. I need a leadoff homer. It's soft contact for Volpe a lot in this series. Grounders up the middle, infield hits, finding holes. And I know a lot of people are going to get upset by just reading people read the StatCast, people read the box scores, and they come up with wildly different opinions. I'm not going to discredit Volpe for the soft contact in this series. I'm going to say credit to him for knowing he's facing the league's very best and knowing what's my mission. I got to get on base. If it's a hit, all the better, because I got to get on base with my speed. And I obviously, the hitting streak is secondary to me right now, but the fact that he continues the hitting streak by just finding holes, finding gaps, plinking infield singles, getting on base repeatedly, and it opens him up for a double I guess it was a single and an error today in the gap. But okay, great. Now we're going gap to gap. Like, he's still got that, but against the league's elite, find holes, get on base, and then it's Juan Soto and Aaron Judge's job to find the stands. So the way he's continued this hitting streak, I think he deserves more credit.
Yeah, I like it a lot. He's coming around in the leadoff spot. So, hey, look, we'll bring it full circle. Credit to Aaron Boone for keeping him there and, expressing the confidence that he thought and he envisioned for Anthony Volpe in the leadoff spot. I think we'd still like to see a tad bit more. That's it, in terms of leadoff production. But guess what? When DJ LeMahieu comes back, I ain't taking Volpe out of the fucking leadoff spot. I wouldn't even think about it. Moment for me, I think that we are getting, potentially, growing Victor Gonzalez into the lefty reliever that he needs to be for this team. Since he pitched a scoreless inning, I understand it was in the 6-3 loss, but he came in after Clark Schmidt when the game was 2-0.
Yeah.
And he pitched a clean frame.
He was great.
And that really good production dates back to April 25th. So he gave up 2 runs against Oakland in that blown game at the stadium when the Yankees lost 2-0. Again, the offense didn't show up, so it was like, whatever. Didn't think much of it. But since that day, he has lowered his ERA from 3.24 to 2.35. He's given up 1 run over his last 7 1/3 innings, I believe it is. Came in today. Got the job done just now, cleaned up Luis Gil's runners on first and second situation in the 7th. Now the Yankees are up 5-0 in the 8th. So, look, I know it's still early. I know Victor Gonzalez at the beginning of the season really didn't provide the Yankees with what they needed, at least what they thought they were getting from the Dodgers in that offseason trade. But it seems like there's a lot of hiccups in the bullpen outside of Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver. Doesn't matter your pedigree as a veteran, doesn't matter how fast you throw it. The health and backslides are all playing factors here. And I know Victor Gonzalez was injured for a decent portion of last year. Is that correct, Tom?
He's sort of been injured over and over again since 2020.
Just a long time. When was it? Yeah, he only pitched in 34 games last year, and he missed all of 2022 with elbow surgery. So, and he wasn't great last year, as you can imagine, because, he was fine. I'll take a 4 ERA with a 3.4 FIP and 1.1 whip. Like, that's fine. Obviously, if he's a little bit further out of that window from elbow surgery, that's going to do the Yankees a lot of good. So he's, to me, still in a little bit of a work in progress, but he's looked really great since April 25th. And that's a month of production. The Yankees really need a left-hander in this bullpen that can get the job done. So I'm hoping that this is like the end of the trial period for him to take that next step and be the go-to option for Aaron Boone.
Yeah, he rocks.
That's me.
He rocks so far. Look, other things below the surface, not so great for the Yanks right now. If you're looking for pitching prospects, come help you out from the minors. It is just worth noting that Clayton Beeter goes on the IL with a mystery shoulder injury. In terms of things you might have missed, this isn't exactly the most pleasant thing that you might have missed. But while you're watching the big club and they're battling out for first place in the East, Cody Poteet, as far as I know, still down there, looking healthy, looking good. But Clayton Beeter's career high walk rate this year, and he goes on the IL with a nebulous shoulder injury. We always say elbow injury, devastating, could cost you a lot of time, but at least we understand that. Shoulder injury, we just don't. So we don't know the extent of that. We don't know if there's a procedure necessary or what it even is. But if there is a procedure, that's going to legitimately be somewhat dicey, and you're going to have to watch that recovery closely. Glad he got that 1 inning at the big league level earlier this year. Don't know why they demoted him, but glad he did get that under his belt before whatever this happens.
When is he coming back?
We'll see. Chase Hampton, again, no pitching so far this year for Chase Hampton. We don't know if it's a UCL sprain or a shoulder thing. We've read different things from different sources. Not all is well on the farm, and Will Warren is theoretically healthy, but he was, remember when he was battling out for the number 5 starter role with Luis Gil?
Times change, bro.
9 starts for Will Warren, 7.62 ERA at the AAA level for Scranton, and his last start was his worst. Although it's close, really close. Pick your poison. 9 earned in 4 innings with 4 walks, or 8 earned in 4 innings with 2 walks. 6 strikeouts in the first one, 4 in the second. Those are his last 2 starts. And the start before that, 6 innings, 6 earned runs. Before that, he had thrown 6 shutouts, 6 1-run, 6 2-run.
Had a great stretch before that.
Yeah, so that would make, it doesn't take I'm no doctor, but if there was something wrong with my fucking arm, I might start sucking immediately. Who knows? But obviously, a lot to check on at the minor league level as well. Most of it not very positive. But brief shout out to the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders and how they won yesterday's game. 10-6 ball game. They chip away. It's 10-8 in the 9th. Jeter Downs homer. They got the tying run on third with 2 outs. Hit a dribbler to third. Former All-Star, and I thought Gold Glover, but somehow he never won one. Jose Iglesias straight up yanks it. Tie ball game. Walk-off home run Caleb Durbin, who's getting a lot of love today. Rightfully so, because he's been awesome all year, and the Yankees don't have a second baseman in the future necessarily. He might be a utility. You might be scared to think about Caleb Durbin as a starter, but 131 WRC plus, 16 doubles, 20 steals in his first 45 games at AAA. And as Ryan Garcia noted online, against high 4-seam fastballs this year, tough pitch to hit. The AAA average batting average, 221. OBP 381, obviously, because if it's high, you might just take a walk on it. Slugging 383. No one slugs off these things. Caleb Durbin hits 296 against high fastballs. OBP 487. He's taking them. Slugging 519. He's hitting them for power. So this guy, this 5'7" utility infield type, hits high fastballs better than basically everybody at the AAA level by a large margin. It helps to be small, I guess. But so far, he has already opened up a lot of eyes and should maybe have opened up even more eyes than he already has. I don't know when we'll see him. I continue to doubt that we'll see him this year. He's not on the 40-man, but what more can you do?
I don't know, man. I really don't. Those are some concerning updates because it feels like the Yankees' first line of pitching defense doesn't exist.
No, it already kind of didn't, and now it really doesn't.
Well, I mean, I guess they've already burned through the first line of defense because you have Cole's injury, you have Tommy Kahnle's injury, you have I don't know, everybody else. Am I even paying attention to anything? I don't know. It feels just like there's a lot of injuries. So the Yankees have burned through a lot already, and now this was like, to me, this was the first line of defense for like seeing what you have for the future. There's a difference from the first line of defense being, oh Jesus, did I jinx Victor Gonzalez?
Probably.
Oh no, Nick Birdie came in and walked that guy. Okay. Oh, Aaron Boone on split inning duty again with somebody who he probably shouldn't have. Victor Gonzalez got out of that inning, comes in. Was that an error? How'd that runner get on base? Let's see. Hit by pitch. Awesome.
Oh, okay. Yes. Strikeout, hit by pitch.
Pretty cool. Either way, you'd like to see, look, the whole thing we've been talking about this season was like, all right, when are we going to see these pitching prospects after the Yankees have dealt a billion of them over the last few years, putting faith in this next level of them, and now we're not going to really be able to. So I want Caleb Durbin up here, though, because I am I know Gleyber Torres hit that home run, and I know that I criticize him a lot, but like it's just still not good to watch. I'd rather see somebody else. I'd just rather see somebody at 220 with a 304 slugging. It's just like 7 years in the league. It's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
Nope.
Two full months into the season now, not asking you to bat 300 with a 950 OPS, just like maybe 260 with a 370 slugging. I don't know. Just not this.
Well, I'll wrap with a stench of positivity. Luis Gil finishes his start today. Last 5 games per Katie Sharp, 0.59 ERA, 35 Ks, just 12 hits, 30 2/3 innings. First Yankee pitcher in their history with an ERA below 0.60, at least 35 Ks, fewer than 15 hits allowed in an 85-game span. You need a simpler distillation of that, also from Katie Sharp. Here are the Yankees pitchers with a sub-2.15 ERA and 70-plus Ks in their first 10 games of a season. Luis Gil this year, after today, and 2021 Garrett Cole. That is it. So thanks for joining us on the Yanks Go Yard podcast. That was once upon a time our 5th starter competitor and winner of the spring training competition, now undisputed ace at this juncture. Kind of nuts. You can join us here every Monday, Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern. Better when there's no game on for sure, but we'll be here either way. I am Adam Weinreb. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinreb. You can find our articles on yanksgoyard.com. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
I'm at Tommy's_takes. We were both at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS.
Twitter, though. Twitter, not X, not the app called X.
Oh, no. What was the argument last time? Until
that
they
the redirect
get rid of
happened.
until Twitter.com takes you to like Apple virus just infected your computer website.
Yeah.
That was it.
Or bringyass.com goes to the Minnesota marketing agency.
It was like when whitehouse.com directed you to the boob website.
Oh, we all know that very well. Yeah. Everybody in computer class in this era, raise your hand if you happen to visit whitehouse.com in front of the wrong teacher.
Oh, why were you on there? I wanted to look up more about the White House. I was curious.
Yeah, it's 6 p.m. Why are you in school at all?
Yeah, so until Twitter redirects me somewhere else and not x.com, I'm gonna stand on this ground. But yeah, head on over to yanksgoyard.com. The content is there. Thank you guys for reading. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully we get a split today. We're in the top of the 8th with 2 runners on and 2 outs. But have yourselves a good weekend. Damn it, I was preparing to talk about the opponent at the end of the podcast, and I forgot.
Our friends, the San Diego Padres.
That's right. We're in San Diego, right?
We're in San Diego, 9:40 Friday, 9:40 Saturday, 4 o'clock Sunday. Honestly, kind of a fun one. The Yankees West. And we're catching them at an interesting time where they're playing pretty well. But Manny Machado still stinks for some reason. I'm sure he'll be great over the weekend. But if you're picking opponents, that's a fun opponent to pick. They played a Memorial Day weekend last year, too, at the stadium. And in that particular game,
Rizzo.
Yeah, Anthony Rizzo got kneed in the head and had brain trauma for 4 months. So let's not relive that. Let's just play a solid, fun baseball series against a good team. And then day off, and then Angels, and then San Francisco Giants. Pretty interesting little West Coast swing. Got some variance in competence of those teams, but none of them are truly Drek. Even the Angels are coming on a little bit, just beat the Astros. So maybe the Astros are truly Drek. Who's to say? Either way, Monday off day is going to be very much welcome. 12:35 start today was very much welcome. And we'll see you on the other side on the off day. Tuesday we'll be here because
we'll see you Tuesday.
Off day is a holiday. Why are the Yankees not playing Memorial Day?
Why is every team not playing Memorial Day?
Riddle me that. Fly out, take Friday off. Who cares?
Yeah.
Play Saturday, Sunday, Monday in San Diego. Have like a naval boat parade in San Diego on Monday. Anything but what you're doing.
Bases loaded. Here comes Booney.
No thanks. Well,
Clay Holmes going to come in for split inning duty. Holy shit.
Great. Good. Great. We love it. Oh, great. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Good job, Nick Birdie. Have a good weekend, everybody.